I'm just going to hit record on this again to give an opportunity for those who can't make it to get some answers from you guys as well from your questions. So just to sort of, again, look, this is an open chat. Please raise your hand if you aren't a speaker, and we'll bring you up here as a speaker. If you are as a speaker, please have your mic on mute so we can try and monitor background noise. But again, I'm not going to go into what zed.run is or what my views are. This is just an open sort of forum chat for you guys to ask away and get some questions answered. So if someone would like to kick off, that would be great.
Okay, Doofy, this is a guy who actually tagged you yesterday on the zed.run Discord. Said I had a couple questions for you when you got back from your honeymoon.
Awesome, man. Get some answered now.
I'm glad that you're here doing this Q&A again. There's an extensive amount of questions. I mean, for people who are new here to the crypto space, I know you have a lot of questions. For me, my questions are more regarded on the horse aspect. I am not too well versed with horse racing or bookie like that. I always wanted to get into it. One main question that I actually had for you was, do you need to have the same type of coat color in order to get it again? Or is it completely random? Or is there a higher chance, let's say if I had a champagne poppy coat fur and I had another horse with a champagne poppy coat fur, if I bred them together, is it like an 80% chance of that coming out as a champagne poppy coat fur? Or is it a completely different coat fur that might come out? Like, what's the algorithms on that?
Yeah, cool. It's a really common question, especially for people who are just coming in. There is an article on community.zed.run, and if you find your way to the news tab, and you're going to have to scroll through because it's from back in 2019, but it's still this is exactly the same algorithm. It's called breeding and coat color. Now, what this will essentially tell you is it'll give you the table of what the coat colors are and their rarities, essentially. So whether they're common, rare, or super rare. And then it'll also give you the equations for what happens when what coat color your offspring essentially have. So there's 3 different factors here. The first one and the easiest one to get the same coat color is if both parents have exactly identical coat colors. I won't go into too much of the equations, but look, you have a 40% chance of getting. Hey, Lucky Man, do you want just whacking on mute, champion? Thanks, bro. You have a 40% chance of getting that identical coat color as the parents, and you actually have a chance of getting a super coat out of that as well. It doesn't say it in here because I'm not sure if super coats were actually around, but I think that's about a 25% chance of getting a super coat. So between 25 and 40% to get a super coat. Now, super coats don't mean anything in the game at the moment. They are more of a collector's item. They will have a lot of abilities in the game in the future, like special races, merch, things like that have been thrown around. So, but just for now, they're more of a collector's item, and they're quite rare in the game because people haven't really been focusing on breeding them too much. The second equation is if the dam and sire, which is mum and dad, don't have an identical coat color, but are in the same color group. So that means, again, if you go up to the chart, you'll be able to see the color groups. You have 7 from memory. Yep, 7. Neptune, Earth, Wild, Moon, Fiery, Classic, and Mystical. So if you've got two coat colors that are inside those groups, but actually don't have identical, then you have a completely new mathematical equation of what the offspring coat color will look like. And then the third one is if the dam and sire don't have an identical coat color and they're not from the same color group. That gives you another equation, which is more geared towards getting, you've got 50% chance of getting either mum or dad, a 40% chance of a completely random color, etc., etc. And that random color is done by Another equation in regards to color rarities and what number color rare you'll get spat out. I hope that's answered your question, mate. Let me know if it hasn't.
Very extensive. Thank you so much, Doofy. You are amazing.
Too easy, mate. When I do this recording as well, anything that I've referenced, I'll try and make sure that I post the links in there as well for you guys.
I have made a record of what Doofy has said, everybody, in the zed.run Discord. So you can just scroll up, mention @deleted user 037, and all that information is there.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate that. I'll try and focus on just getting the questions answered. Anyone else out there? Look, I see that some down the bottom. I think there's a limit to how many speakers there actually are. We've tried to make it as open as possible, but please just put your hand up if you do need to ask a question.
May I ask a question?
Yep.
On the talk on the spaces yesterday, I think Decentraland was mentioned.
Yes.
So I suppose my question is there a formal partnership, or is that not needed the way Decentraland is structured?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I only have limited information on this. I don't work for the Zed team. I sort of spend my time reading as much as I can to get as much information for everyone. As I understand it, they have been buying up land on Decentraland to create a HQ. So if that's the case, I would probably say more than likely not a partnership, but please don't quote me on that.
Right.
No, I'm pretty sure there's no partnership. If that helps, it's all, once it's built, Decentraland don't actually control anything that happens in there.
Great, thanks guys, yeah.
Thank you.
I have heard, on that Decentraland topic that they're building, like, in terms of a HQ, like a virtual racetrack and stuff like that. And that comes back to what Chris was talking about yesterday on my chat about this whole 2051 reality of virtual horse racing and being able to sort of go up and watch the races at virtual racetracks and all of that sort of stuff. So again, limited information, but really exciting and cool things that they have in the plans.
Right. And I suppose to answer my own question, it does make sense a partnership wouldn't be needed. It's sort of Decentraland, that's sort of what their platform, I think, is about.
Yeah.
Is to be able to go in there and create.
Hey,
also, I think some of the interest in Decentraland, it comes back to Atari's investment in building that virtual casino.
Yes.
So I think there's a partnership with Atari, I believe, and then
They definitely have that.
So I know that Atari's betting big on their casino there, and so I'd expect some, kind of neighboring space or something where it made sense to be in the same district.
Cool.
Absolutely right.
That works out only because I'm a child of the 80s.
I'll just remind guys, can you just whack your mic on mute if you are in the speakers area if you're not talking? Thank you.
I actually did have one other question, if that's okay.
Yep.
So we're speaking about horse racing, and I know this is like very early stage. It's probably a silly question, but is there any idea down the road of other type of gambling, I suppose, or speculating?
Look, I mean, community. There's a guy kicking around. I'm not sure if you've had a chance to meet him. A great bloke called Blazing Up. He comes from greyhound racing in real life. He's been asking them to do greyhound racing. They've sort of said they love the idea. I guess we're sort of caught between getting zed.run fully off the ground, out of beta, getting all these little niggly hiccups that happen from time to time out of the way. And I would be very surprised if they didn't, once they had that set up, create some sort of side racing aspect, maybe in the greyhound, etc., etc. It would be a lot easier to do it that way. Finish off the project and then sort of move on. I don't think it'll ever be finished, obviously, but get it to a point where it's they're sort of out of their hands in some regard, and it's sort of running itself.
Okay, cool. Whether or not that, I was thinking, I don't know what I was thinking. One cool thing I liked, and I guess you guys know that, I see some, maybe even the founder of Zed, is one thing I know from my grandmother that a lot of people don't know about today is, horse racing used to be like the NFL back in the 20s and 30s. It was like this, it was also like this, it'd be really cool to see it come back. I know it's well respected today, but it'd be pretty cool to see it come back virtually like that.
Yeah, so I mean, look, to touch on that point, and I don't want to spend too much time just sort of talking. I really want to get some questions up from you guys, but to touch on that point, this is something that I come from in real life, and I mentioned it yesterday. And horse racing around the world is considered the sport of kings, mostly due to the high cost to get into the game as an owner. Around the world, and to have the best, we're talking tens of millions of dollars for these horses. But I absolutely see this game becoming an industry. I didn't talk about this part in terms of the amount of different pillars of brands and companies and associations that are then linked to the horse racing industry. You have owners, you have trainers, you have bloodstock brokers, you have insurance brokers, you have sales agencies, you have data analysts. Then you have bookies and you have punters. Like, if you start to build out what the industry is and what the opportunity is here for Zed.run as an industry, and then what it means for the general public to get involved and have ownership of brands and horses and other aspects of it, that's where I get really excited. I am quite lucky in that I understand all of that already. You'll be able to own your own racetrack soon, get your own sponsors onto the platform, do all of these things. You'll be able to set up your own essential like racing industry, like ATC from here in Sydney, which is Randwick Racecourse, and you'll be able to hold your own stakes races funded by sponsors and have own custom races. So that's really cool. And I think that's why I'm mostly excited about it, is because I sort of get where this can go. But if you're not from a horse racing industry, it's quite hard to sort of understand how big that industry is, as opposed to if you're just a punter who goes down on Saturday, or even less of a punter and just watches the big races like Melbourne Cup and et cetera, et cetera. So yeah.
Thank you. I feel the passion. That's all I'll say. So thank you very much.
Too easy. We might see if anyone's down in the listeners section. Please just pop your hand up, and we will get you up here. If you are maybe a speaker and you don't have a question, if you want to just put yourself down to a listener, so we can open up some spaces for people as well. I think there's a limited amount we can have speaking at the same time.
I got a question for you real quick, Doofy, and then I'll probably bump down to listener. So I've been kind of around the game and the community for about a month now. So I haven't really experienced the breeding yet. Could you talk about a little bit how you think it's going to go down especially with so many more users now? Like when you put a colt into stud, how did that dynamic kind of work beforehand?
Yeah.
Quite a bit of competition now.
Good. Look, it's a good question. When I went off yesterday, the Q&A, I actually walked out at the time that they were trying to get some questions answered. I'm like, put me back in. I'll get this answered quick. Look, breeding's going to be huge, man. I think it's going to be a little bit like the last drop in terms of a bloodbath, I call it. I think it's going to be a bit manic, especially at the beginning. There's so many new users who are itching to get to their horses either in the stud barn, or head to the stud barn with their fillies and get some race horses. So I think it's going to be a little bit manic in the beginning. My recommendation would be to keep your eye on what's happening in the stud barn, especially in the beginning. There's probably going to be some horses there that are underpriced from people who don't understand the platform yet and don't really know what they're doing. And that's not necessarily taking advantage of someone. That's just the reality of the game. I also think on the flip side of that there's going to be people who are completely overpricing their horses, heading off to stud, trying to get as much money as possible, who will have their horses probably sit there for 7 days. They may have 1 or 2 picked up from someone else, again, who doesn't really know what the lay of the land is. So it's going to be a little bit confusing in the beginning. There's going to be a huge variance in terms of what people have put their prices into stud at. Just be mindful of that. Keep your eye on it. Keep a lookout for anything that you think is sort of well priced. I'll be here doing some live streams as well on Twitch, going through studs and trying to pick up some breeds and helping people get some answers, giving my tips of which ones I would be breeding with what type of horse I have, etc., etc. But yeah, it's going to be manic. In terms of private breeding, and I say private breeding, that doesn't exist, but I call private breeding when you put your own horse in and you try and take your own studs. You're going to have to be quick, and you're going to have to really be mindful of what you want to do and when you want to do it, because if you go putting your stallion in and you only have, say, 1 or 2 fillies, but you don't want too many breeds of your stallion out there. If you go and take those 2 or 4 breeds, you may have to put that price up a little bit and take your own discount to try and deter people from taking a stud from your horse. That's something you're going to have to be mindful of. If you're going to take all 7, then put it in at minimum and just click away as quick as possible, breed them all. Maybe do a test run on someone else's horse with one of your mares, just to understand what the process is, what happens when you click what button, etc., etc. Don't go in there, put your stud in, and then sort of clunky find your way around the platform. Have a couple of test runs first.
If you have a question, I thought you could share like tomorrow, like in terms of drop strategy.
Yep.
Do you recommend like people go for fillies over colts? Are there specific colors that you look at? I mean, it's going to be a zoo, right? People just like refreshing, clicking, trying to get through their gas.
Yeah.
And for starters, like, where do you think people should start in terms of, buy the best horse you can get, buy 3 with your funds? What are you thinking?
So if you asked me this question before the last drop, my answer would have been completely different. We were on a Discord call, and I'll probably do that again for this drop. We had some good fun on there. We had a heap of people on there having a laugh, picked up some good horses. But to sort of answer your question, I'm going to go ahead and assume that it is going to be as manic, if not more manic, than the previous drop. Okay. Before the last drop, you sort of had a little bit of a luxury to search by coat color. You had a little bit of a luxury to search by gender. But I think now, given the landscape of the game, you're going to have to sort of just pick what Z number you want to go in at and just get what you can. Unfortunately, I think there's going to be instances where people spend too much time trying to search for a very specific horse, and there will only be a couple of them and more than likely be taken, and you'll spend your whole time searching for them and essentially miss out on any horses. So just keep that in mind. I'm not saying that's definitely going to be that way. I just think we need to be mindful of that. But if you do want to go looking for a specific horse, there's no right or wrong answer here in terms of going for a colt or going for a filly. You need to have a look at what you have in your stable already to complement them. The advantage of having a colt or a stallion is obviously you can pick up investment or some of your investment funds back by putting that horse into stud and collecting commissions and fees from other stable owners. But the advantage of having a mare is that you can obviously keep the offspring and you can race them or you can sell them unraced. And if they're well bred, you can actually make a lot of money back that way as well. So I don't think there's any right or wrong answer in terms of which one is better, in my opinion. I just think that they're different strategies and you need to have a look at your own stable to really work out what's best for you. Look, try and when as you're scrolling through, I would have 2 things ready. If you already have horses, know your coat colors and know what they look like, okay? And then I would also have an idea of whether you want a filly or a colt on any sort of given coat color. So I'd have a screen up with some pictures of your horses and their coat color names and whether they're a filly or stallion, and try and sort of marry up same coat color with, so you have one stallion and one filly of each color. So then that way you have some good breeding pairs. To answer your part two question, do I think it's better to have one great horse versus 3 to 5 okay average horses? Absolutely not. This is just my opinion. If you do not have any horses in your stable, I definitely think you should be better off just bringing your investment back in terms of what Z number you go for. So if you can afford a Z2, bring that back to a Z5 or 6 and pick up 3 to 5 of them. The reason I say this is because I think that there's a false reality out there at the moment that just because you buy a better Z number, it's going to be a better horse. It's absolutely not the case. I have a stable full of Z3s and Z4s, even a few Z2s, that just are not good races. And to give you an idea, I was talking about this morning, I have about 27 Z3s and 4s. I would probably race 3 or 4 of them. So what that means is, hey, Drew, do you mind just whacking on mute, mate?
We made a bet, commercially we're not, no.
I don't know if I can mute him.
The long-term potential is 7-figure potential.
Are you able to mute? Yeah, thanks, mate. Coming back to that point, so I think you're going to have a lot more fun. All good. I think you're going to have a lot more fun when you have more horses and you have a better chance of getting a winning horse and you're racing and doing it that way, versus just putting all your eggs in one basket, getting a bad horse and essentially going, this is shit. Right. So you sort of, what do I call it? You're putting your risk over, a range of horses as opposed to all in one.
Great, thank you.
Hope that's answered your question. It wasn't a bit too distracting in the middle there. Have we got any other questions from the speakers up here at the moment? If you're a listener, just raise your hand and we'll bring you up as well to have a...
Yeah, man, I definitely have one question kind of more specifically about tomorrow in terms of the drop. And as someone who's first time into the platform, what are we looking for? What are we trying to get?
It's a question that you need to bring what your how much money you have essentially into the game. It's just because, look, I can't answer that question without knowing how much you have to invest. Sorry, is what I'm trying to say here.
That's cool, man. But if you could give an outline of there's different ways to play the game.
Yep.
And obviously with those different ways to play it, you need to enter the game at a certain level.
Cool. So I'll go as a general sort of overview. Look, I'm a racer and a breeder, so I look for when I'm hitting the marketplace, I'm looking to buy, pick up 5 to 10 horses, depending on how much I have to invest at the time. And I'm looking to essentially race all of those horses and find the best ones to then go on and breed with and sell. Now, there's definitely another strategy of buying up rare horses and just holding them for future values. You can still breed with them as well, but just be mindful that you're breeding an unraced horse, which is, not as desired, especially at the moment with how many there are going to be. So there's sort of a split strategy there. I think the best answer to say would be to sort of cover all bases and have a split strategy if you're new to the game. Drew mentioned in his when he was talking yesterday that he was sort of acquiring horses in the beginning and then was going to move to racing as a strategy. So he was just sort of buying as many horses as he could, depending on how much his budget was. And not necessarily racing them just yet. And he might look to flip a couple of them unraced in a couple of months' time with some interest, I guess. Excuse me.
Sweet. So in terms of an unraced horse and a raced horse,
yep,
is kind of like crypto kitties where you used to have virgin cats and then the rest of the cats. Is that like a thing in this as well, or is it actually more preferable to have a horse that has like a family line or whatever of like good qualities? Like,
Yeah. So excuse me, I'm just gonna. Honeymoons are hard work. So look, there definitely is a desired factor for virgin race horses that have been unraced and unbred, because people want to sort of, you can pick them up cheaper and you're sort of playing the Genesis luck pool in that sense. They could be good, could be bad, but you're not paying as much for them. You can generally pick up a few of them for the price that you would get for a proven racehorse. Okay. So when you're keeping a horse unraced and unbred, then what you're essentially doing is relying on the marketplace prices to increase over time and the rarity of that horse depending on what you buy. Zed Gazette has a great article on this, which actually gives you the image of how many horses in how many horses, Genesis horses, are going to be released from each Z level. So horses 1 through 4 are 1,000 horses of each. 5 have 2,000, 6 have 3,000. I think 7 have 5,000, and it just sort of increases up to Z10s have 8,000, and that totals 38,000. So there's 38,000 Genesis horses that will ever be released. So when you're buying from Marketplace, you're buying a Genesis horse. When you're talking about buying bloodlines and etc., you're more talking about buying a bred horse from a P2P market. And that's something that you sort of have to look at those, especially the Genesis horses, but also the bloodline working all the way back to the top of the family tree, to see how good that bloodline is when you're buying a P2P bred horse.
I bet your man is super helpful. In terms of tomorrow, then, if I want to come in and I want to get a horse that I can race and at a good level,
yep.
What kind of entry point am I looking at?
So I did a quick video on this as well, and I talked about what I believe the different genotypes, and so that's your Nakamoto, your Zabo, your Finny, and your Buterin horses, and how they sort of race, and what the chances are of them being a good racer on a level playing field. It didn't really take into consideration class aspects and everything else. But that was more talking about, the consistency of a Nakamoto, the opportunity of a Zabo, and what I mean by that is that there's an opportunity for you to have a better horse than a Zabo, but it also has a big opportunity for it to be completely trash and unraceable in the game today. Doesn't mean that it won't be in the future. Whereas your Nakamoto as a variance is more of a consistent good horse. Like, it's just a good horse that's average that you'll pick up a couple of wins maybe back in class 3, but it'll do okay. Then you've got your Finnies, which are again a little bit more consistent in terms of your Buterins, and they sort of really compete on a class 4, class 3 level if you've got a good one. A great one. And then you've got your Buterins, like your Z10s, which are really cheap. You can buy up a heap of these if you're quick enough, and if you can jump on the P2P market. I know they're in high demand at the moment, and you can build like a really good stable on Z10s. But there's a pretty high chance, in my opinion, of you picking up a Z10 that it's going to be not that great of a racer. I think I have something like 10 Z10s, and I probably raced one of them. I think I might have even sold the one that I race. So just to give you an idea of how many horses you're going to need to buy to find that great Z10, it's quite high. So in terms of just directly answering your question, what should you buy? If you're buying one horse, try and get Z4 at minimum. I don't know what the prices are going to be, but you could probably work off fairly close enough off what the previous prices were, plus 20%, give or take, is sort of what the trend has been doing. But if you can afford to get a Z4, they are still a super rare horse, in my opinion, because there's only 1,000 of them, just like 1,000 of the Z1s.
So are we looking at like what kind of ETH entry point for a Z4?
I don't have it in front of me. Going off memory again, mate.
Past experience.
Yeah, going off memory, I think Z3s were about 2 to 2.5 Ethereum. So take a bit off that, maybe like 1.5 to 2 Ethereum.
Yeah, perfect. Appreciate that, man. Thank you.
Again, don't quote me on that. That's going completely off memory, and my memory's a bit shot at the moment.
If it's a bit more expensive tomorrow, I'll bite the bullet and I'll come back to you for the difference.
Yeah, sounds good.
I think I picked up a Z4 last draft for like 2,700 US. So that's like
Cool, 1.5.
a little less than 1.5 at the time. Yeah.
So you'd probably be looking at minimum sort of 1.5. Well, I mean, Ethereum has jumped up as well, so it'll probably be about the same price.
Perfect. Has anyone looked into like a MakerDAO type collateralization thing for like leasing out horses?
Leasing has been talked about. It's something that I sort of have done in the past for new stables when we were a lot smaller, and people sort of couldn't afford to get in and they wanted to try things out. I sort of leased them a horse for a month. I do know that Rod was asking people if they would be interested in a leasing platform within the game. I'm a big fan of this. Again, it happens a lot in real life. I think they would need to sort of have some parameters around how that worked. I don't think that the leaseor should have the ability to breed with that horse, but more or less just be able to race it. I would like to see some parameters around how that horse is sort of raced in some way so that it doesn't damage the horse a great deal. Again, not sure how that would work, but it's something that I would like to sort of see.
Sorry, just to interrupt there while you're on that thought. You can damage your horse by racing it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so yeah, I have a lot to learn here.
Yeah, so what I mean by that, to sort of just unpack that a bit, is look, your horse's value, especially as a raced horse, is very much dependent on how well you have raced it up until that point. You have to take into consideration win rate percentage, place rate percentage, and what odds you're pulling as an average and sort of at preferred distance. How many races that horse has had comes into consideration. I'm not sure if he's in the chat, but I'm doing something really cool with Armando. I'm sure you've seen him around in terms of actually building a valuation tool for you guys, which is going to be like data backed. It's going to be epic. And this is going to be something that you can then go in and actually go, right, what's my racehorse worth? What is this racehorse I want to buy worth, etc., etc. So look, that's coming. We're probably a couple of weeks away from that sort of having a V1 push out, but it's definitely in the works. But coming back to your sort of question in how you can damage your horse, I've got a great example of a Z1 that I have right now called Swiss Spanker. It has had 12 races. It's got a 75% win rate and an 18% win rate and a 75% place rate. Now, as a Z1, and it's just classed up to class 1 as well. So as a Z1, I need to take into consideration of whether I am going to add value or lose value to that horse by racing it in terms of a parent, because it is a filly. So any breeding that I do with this horse, I'm going to be able to keep the offspring. And so I need to take into consideration of when I breed that horse, I want the best win rate and best place rate available at that time, because when you breed a horse, that offspring is bred from the genetics and snapshot in time of the parents at that point in time. So it doesn't take into consideration future races, obviously. It takes them into what's happened and where it is right then. And so I want to give my offspring the best opportunity of being the best racehorse possible. If I was to continue racing this horse, how much do I have to gain and how much do I have to lose comes into consideration. And in my opinion, there is no point racing this racehorse anymore. It's done over 10 races. It's done its 12 races. and what am I standing to gain? A couple of win percent versus losing a heap of places, or what could potentially happen. So I hope that's answered that question for you in terms of how, it wasn't really a question, but how you can sort of devalue and add value to your horses at the same time.
Yeah, perfect. Do you say you have a YouTube that you do videos on in regards to this kind of stuff?
Yeah, I haven't done one for a couple of weeks because I've been away, but I'm on YouTube and I've got a website, doofyracing.com, that I put all my videos as well, so that's probably easier to find.
Sick, man. Yeah, I'll have a look into that. I've seen this pop up because I follow Josh.
Oh, yep, cool.
So I'm completely new to you, but I think you just became my zed.run guy.
Oh, I'm glad it helped, man. Yeah, doofyracing.com, under the tips section. There's a heap of vlog and blog content there for you.
Gorgeous. I'll have a look at that now. Cheers, man.
Too easy. All right, have we got someone else? How you, man?
Yeah, Doofy, I got a question. If you, it's kind of related to your last topic. You were talking about devaluing the horse.
Yep.
So I got a Z7 Finney colt in the last drop, and I raced it a few times. I didn't really know what I was doing, so they were all 1,800 meter races, so I didn't really get a good sample size. And the horse won its third race.
Yep.
Am I crazy to think that maybe I should never race that horse again?
Oh, yeah.
Just wait and put it in the stud.
Look, without looking at the data of this horse specifically, I would say, yeah, you are a little bit crazy, but I would need to look into the odds of that race horse as well, because it might actually be a champion.
Odds were like 15 to 20 or so.
Okay.
I actually couldn't, for some reason, I couldn't find the odds from the race it won. It wasn't showing up on the Zed Stats website.
Yeah. Have you checked the disc?
Yeah,
That's right. We can have a chat online, and I can try and find it for you. There might be a way, but sometimes they do just get missed.
So is that if I'm going to put it in stud when breeding opens up, is that 33% win percentage? That's not going to be much of a factor with only 3 races.
No, look, it's a small factor, right? In terms of when, as I said just a second ago, when you breed a horse, from my understanding, it is that it takes the genetics, so the attributes that horse is essentially born with, and it also takes into consideration, I think at a smaller level, but it does take it into consideration a snippet of where that horse is at that point in time. So it is quite important of picking when to breed your horse. You talk about horses that breed over their lifetime and pull out different offspring, and that's essentially 2 factors. One, have you bred it with the same mare? So just take that into consideration. But if you were same mare, same stallion, and they're both continued racing, those offspring will actually change over time. And I believe that there is the factor of where that horse is at that point in time. I don't have enough data of whether the more races means anything in terms of the win rate and the place rate. What I would be mindful of this horse specifically is that you've only tried it over one distance. Those races that you put it in that you're getting 15 to 1, were they paid races or free races?
No, they were free. So I got 2 horses in the drop. And I did a few free races just to start out.
Yep.
And then so that horse won, so I kind of shelved it, and I've been doing racing the other horse, and it's terrible. It keeps losing. So I just didn't want to ruin my other horse too. If it's also terrible, I want to kind of keep this facade of maybe it's better.
So my point here is going to be any sort of educated buyer is going to look at that win. And then look at the odds, and they're going to say that it's a little bit fluky anyway, given where it was. So in terms of devaluing your horse, I think you have more to gain in actually trying to see if it's a better racer over different distances. If it's run at 1,800, I would whack it in a 1,400 meter race and a 2,200 meter race, and just get an idea of what that does to the odds. You may need to test those race distances and maybe the ones either side a little bit more. But from me coming in to buy this horse, if you come to me and go, I've got a horse that's won 33% from 3 races, here's the horse name. First thing I'm doing is going to look at the odds. I'm going 15 to 1. That, that does happen. I think the odds are sort of moving out. So a 15 to 1 horse is actually what I would consider what used to be a 12, 13 to 1 horse. And I'm way out of touch at the moment in terms of racing from the last couple of weeks. But I put Ducky Mallon in last night, who pulled an 8s at 1400. Never done that before in her life. But every other horse was above 10s. Okay, she's a 6 to 1 horse every day of the week in Class 1 at 1400. And I've got sample size of like 85 races. So I need to do some research into this, and I need to do some content around this. But I think that with the competition and the amount of racehorses that are now coming in, what you will find is that what is considered a good racehorse in terms of odds has changed slightly.
Okay, cool.
I hope that's answered the question. I would definitely race that horse. I would definitely test out a couple of other things.
Yeah, no, I just didn't want to fuck it up. I didn't want to put it back in a race and then it loses a bunch of times.
Yeah, look, if you're not buying any more horses in this drop, and those are your 2 horses, and you're looking to breed, I don't think you're going to do a great deal of damage in terms of the breeding barn, because I think a majority of the sort of the algo that's dropped into the offspring is coming from genetics, and then it takes that snapshot in time. If you put it in there with 5 races at 20% win rate versus 3 races at 33% win rate, I don't think you're going to damage that racehorse a great deal.
Okay.
And I'll just take this moment to say that I don't have any access to what the breed algorithm is or the race algorithm. So everything I do say here is from past experience. I have done a heap of breeding. I've done a heap of racing. So what I'm sharing here is what my experiences are for you guys. Please don't turn around and come at me and go, you said this is definitely how it works. That's not what I'm saying here. I'm just trying to help you guys as much as possible to make your own decisions on the platform and help you understand the platform for yourself as much as possible. There is definitely room for things on the either side.
For sure. I appreciate your help, Doofy.
No problem, mate.
Congratulations with the wedding.
Cheers, champion. Appreciate it.
All right. Take care, man.
All right. Have we got someone up in the speakers that has a question?
Hey, Doofy. It's Jordan.
Yeah, just a reminder, we have a 10 speaker max. So if you want to ask a question, if you just want to step down, that gives another person a chance to pop up.
Yeah, thanks,
Jordan,
man. Thanks, Jordan. Hey, Jordan. How you doing, champ?
Doing well, man. How are you?
Awesome.
So, I don't really have a question. I kind of have 2 statements. My first one more pertaining to the game and to the new users. I would say to everyone, don't be so wary of buying a racehorse and it being quote unquote bad or broken or whatever. There's still so much to the game to be unreleased as far as they're going to have class restrictions, they're going to have race restrictions, they're going to have conditions, they're going to have there's so much more to the game to be had. Really don't get caught up on thinking, well, if I buy this horse right now and it's not good, I ruin my investment. Well, no, because in my opinion, and I'm sure everybody else will share the same opinion, you're still getting in on the ground floor on what a lot of these Genesis horses are going to run in a year or 2 years from now. So yeah, definitely, I think that's the biggest fear factor to new users coming into the platform.
That's absolutely right. Before we move on to the next one, like what Jordan has just absolutely touched on there is 100% true. I've got like 200 racehorses or horses. Of that, I think my racing stable has like 25 or 30 in them. My other horses sit in another stable, which I'm either still training or they have been trained and they've just been, I guess, pigeonholed into they're not racers right now. It doesn't mean that they're not going to be racers in the future. To touch on what's coming, racetrack preference is coming, weather preference is coming, gate preference is coming, fatigue factor is coming. That's going to be huge. So fatigue in terms of how often you race your horse close to each other, whether or not your horse likes to be fresh, again in real terms, or whether it likes to be a little bit into its work, i.e. 2 or 3 races in. Where does that factor? That's going to be massive. There's talks about handicapping. I don't know how this is going to work in the platform. What I would hate to see is that we have a handicap system that sort of punishes good race horses just for the sake of punishing them. I think the team need to be really careful in terms of how that works. But I have been told that it will be a factor. So just be mindful of that. Just because it's not a good racehorse right now doesn't mean that it's not going to be in the future, just like what Jordan's brought up. Thanks, mate.
And just piggybacking on that, what you said, Doofy, about the conditioning of the horse, I was hearing something in the Discord about feeding the horse. This guy said that he feeds his horse because just before a race, it does better when it's fed. I don't know if I was getting trolled or not.
I think you'll get in trouble, man. Look, we're talking back in December. I think I was on Christmas break. The awesome team at Zed sort of jumped in the community and said, how would you like fatigue to work, and got some community insight from that. One of the things that came out of it was essentially being able to buy food to reduce fatigue and all of these things. Mostly around if you've got a horse that's highly fatigued and a stakes race comes out, do you miss that opportunity, or can you purchase feed to try and reduce that fatigue factor? That has not been official in any way. It was an idea by a community member. Some people loved it. Some people absolutely hated it. And I think that you've just been trolled there. There's no food, mate.
Okay, sweet. And I'm also, by the way, a disclaimer, I'm one of those people that absolutely hates that idea for food, and this new idea of buying saddles as items to make your horse have like an extra ability. Like, if you're going to introduce, and this is just to the team developers, because this is how a lot of games just get ruined. If you're going to introduce something like saddles and food for people to buy, these things need to be sort of like drops, like how the marketplace is opening tomorrow. So that way, at the very least, you give the players some kind of level of randomness to kind of buy these things, that they're not just all in the hands of people who have money.
Yeah. I think, look, there's talks of saddles, bridles, skins, tattoos, etc. I think that most of those talks have been to date about visual aspects only. I'm sure that people have sort of put their own spin on them. You've got the Atari horses coming out soon that are going to have limited edition skins. I know that there's been talks about what I would like to see are little trophies or medals that are NFTs that you can win, that you can sort of have in your stable as well. I would like to see the ability for racetrack owners to give away custom bridles as prizes from custom races, like a sash. When you win a race in real life, and I'm going to talk about real life a lot because this is where most of my experience comes from. When you win a big race in real life, you get a sash for the horse, and you keep that sash and you put it on your wall. Like that's a big deal, right? If you win a stakes race, more often than not, unfortunately, these people have money, right? And the money's not actually what they're after. They're after that accolade of that, look what I won,
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, go wall collection.
We got 100 emoji from Chris on that cosmetic item, so I'm assuming that.
Oh, hey, Chris, I didn't even see you there. How you going, mate?
What's up, Doofy? I've just been listening. You're doing a great job. Thanks again, Josh. I'm not going to be on for long, but anytime anybody mentions the cosmetics and the visuals, I'm keen to share my part. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the creative director and one of the co-founders of zed.run, Virtual Human. And just to touch on what Doofy was saying in terms of skins and cosmetics and your concern, I don't know how to pronounce your name, Co. At this stage, all the visual cosmetics won't change abilities. It's purely cosmetics. It'll be purely adding that rarity in form of art to your horse, in form of having a unique item. And as Doofy mentioned as well, being able to unlock certain trophies, winning trophies that are NFTs, it's definitely something that we're looking into and is on the cards. Much like a lot of these games out there are doing with banners, stable banners. Like, imagine customizing your own stable and being able to put your trophies up front and center.
I see.
Badges that you've unlocked because you are a top racer or a top breeder, or you've won multiple different races. So there's so much. As Doofy said, we're scratching the surface in terms of what we're able to do.
Right.
But we are moving tentatively and slowly, just because we're listening to the community. We don't want to change what's working, and there has to be a balance with everything that we do. So we're not going to come in and say, hey, you can just buy the saddle like buying in a poker game again, just because the guy with the most money can keep buying in. We're definitely not going down that route. It's got to be, it's got to be democratized. It's got to be decentralized. It's got to be a fair go for all. Hence this kind of drop.
Right. I love the drop system. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you guys did amazing with the drop system. Some people might not be there at 5 o'clock p.m. to buy this horse. They might have something else to do. And this person might be the one who's going to buy all the Nakamotos.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And we want to, we're still testing the drop system out, but this next drop is based on what we learned from the last drop. So there's a few things there. Our last drop didn't go as smooth as we wanted to do because of the influx of people that came on, and it kind of crashed our network just for a minute or for 45 minutes. So we're spacing it out as well, but also because we want to give people a fair go. In Australia, there's a thing called everybody gets a fair go, and we believe that blockchain and NFTs and the community behind that in our ecosystem should resemble that as well. So by spacing it out, people can get in at a time that they want to get in, and hopefully everybody who wants to get a horse is able to get one.
Thanks, mate. I really appreciate you coming up and sharing that from the horse's mouth, as to say, as opposed to just what I've been saying. So it's good to hear that it's echoed in the team as well. That I like to check myself sometimes, and I hope that I'm not a mile off. So it's good to hear.
and also to your point, Doofy, before, like you were saying, you're giving advice based on your experience, and nobody should ever come back and say, oh, Doofy said this, and now I'm stuck with the donkey or whatever. Like, that's the way we want this game to be. It's got to be community driven. It's got to be an ecosystem that thrives on people's discovery. It is a game of discovery. We're not going to tell you that this Z10 or this Z9 is good at X, Y, and Z, and this is where you run. You got to figure that out yourself. Correct. So to the point that was made before, buying a horse that's not been raced, that's like having an unopened NBA Chop Shop pack. That's like having a Star Wars toy, perhaps, in a package in many, many, many years. You know what I mean? Like the untouched toy, the unspoiled, the mid-condition item. Like when you have a horse, it could be a champion, but it could also be, a champion breeder, or it could be, it might have not found its way, like you were also mentioning. We've got so many, track conditions, altitude, heat, weather, fatigue. We've got all these things on our roadmap that are going to come into play and might unlock some of these horses' true abilities. So yeah, there's a lot of ways to play this game, and what Doofy and guys like Zed and Lucky Jack and all our Poseidon Racing, there's some really big players of our game, and but the job that you guys have done is phenomenal, and it really drives this community, and we couldn't be happier with it, man. So thank you, Doofy, and Adam, who I can see is listening.
Yeah, I think there's a few of them in. I just scrolled down before when you popped up. I was like, oh, I should probably have a series in the chat. So appreciate you coming in and sharing that, mate. Especially for people who missed the chat yesterday, and we sort of talked a couple of those factors. So thanks heaps. All right, I've probably got another half an hour, but I'll probably push it out to hour if the questions keep flowing. If someone hasn't had a question that they have been dying to ask, please pop up and get it answered. Otherwise, I'm going to be pretty dark again for the next few days. This is your chance.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. First of all, thank you for giving your time, and congratulations on the marriage. I wanted to ask, with the when you race a horse, is there a history of how your horse did in different races?
Yeah, look, there's a couple of platforms that the community have been building out already in terms of your racehorse history and some analytics, I guess, that do come off the back of that. I've done a manual spreadsheet that I used to use way back when man, now I look back to what zed.run racing was, even like a few months ago. It was like you had to put in a lot of time and you had to watch almost every race and collect your data manually. There's a few out there. I don't have them right in front of me. I know that Zed Gazette, I think, has some links to those. Are you here? Yeah, you are.
Yeah, Adam's here as well, but I can also just really chime in real quickly before I head off. We are building out a stable management tool at this very moment. I've been sitting through design meetings all week, and what I can say is we're going to be releasing a stable management tool where you're going to be able to track your horse's data, whether it's run one race or 500 races. There's going to be an awesome, stable management tool, a dashboard where you're going to be able to visualize, the last 5 races, the last 50 races, and seeing how it performs across different varied lengths and so on. So that's something we've been seeing what the community guys like Doofy, guys like Zed, Adam, who's here as well. We should probably get up on the stage at some point. And we've been seeing what these guys have been doing, and it's just, it's inspiring, and it of course leads us to know what we're going to build next. So that's in the works. I can't say how far away because we've got the drop now, and then breeding is the big next ticket that we want to get out to you guys and girls, and then hopefully we'll get some stable management tools out to you in the very near future.
Yeah, that's going to be epic. Look, without giving you the other links straight away, there is a tool that you can use, which is fairly simple to use within Discord. If you head over to the racing channel, this is what I was using for a long time, and it still works 99% of the time. You can go into the racing stable, hit Control F, search your horse's name. It will bring up all of the odds from its previous races. If you click the race link, it'll give you the results. And if you are running a manual spreadsheet, which I still think has its elements at this point in time for your own racehorses, so you can quickly and simply look at your own stable. If you're managing anywhere up to sort of 10 horses at the moment, I don't think it's going to be too arduous for you to just jump in and get the key data that you want into a spreadsheet and put a couple of reference points, maybe on like an overview of all of your races, your horses, and what class they're in, their race distance preference, and their gait preference. Which again, I think that the gait preference has a little bit of a factor, and Chris will probably say it's definitely off, but I like to put my horses in. This is probably from the old algorithm. I like to put my horses in the same gate as they've won in before, and it looks good on spreadsheets. And to me, it looks like it's on probably because I just run them there, and they're a winning horse. So it's probably not on like they're saying, but I like to put them in the same one.
That's called superstition, mate.
I know. Oh man, I had one horse. I just sold it recently. That had, I think, like 10 races at a certain distance and gate, and it had like 70% win rate, and it just didn't win anywhere else. I'm like, oh, either I'm doing like just lucky in this gate or what? But yeah.
Yeah. Hey, real quick, I got to bounce, guys. So just want to say thanks so much, Doofy. Thanks so much, Josh. And for anybody who's new here, join our Discord. These guys are on there all the time, and they're really, setting the bar for our community and really doing an awesome, fantastic job. And good luck with the drop tomorrow. And just feel free to reach out to me and anybody on the Zed team. We try the best we can to stay in touch with the community and help you guys out any way we can.
Cheers, mate. Appreciate you coming in.
Thanks for supporting us. All right. Have a good one.
Cheers, mate. So look, I hope that sort of answers your question.
So for the drop tomorrow, do you only need to have ETH in your MetaMask, or do you need to transfer it to your Matic wallet too?
Yeah, let's definitely touch on this point. if you have a stable that is connected to your MetaMask, the only way to purchase horses is via your MetaMask wallet. Someone please confirm this, because I only sort of browsed and saw an announcement in the Zed Discord. Please jump on the Zed Discord if you're not already. Check the announcements channel. It is pretty clear cut on there. But from my understanding, if you have an email wallet, an email stable that isn't connected to any wallets, that you will be able to purchase with your stable wallet. Please check that before you go and do anything though. The zed.run Discord channel, under announcements, will have that information for you.
Yeah, I think the other point there is to make sure you have ETH and not wrapped ETH.
Yeah.
Wrapped ETH is what you win. And so if you have a bunch of wrapped ETH from your winnings, or you transferred it in, you've got to get it out. So they recommend starting early because it can take some time.
Yeah,
some fees, but you can withdraw back out to ETH, and that's what you pay with.
When you have your MetaMask connected, you'll have two separate wallets. Your Zed wallet, which is what I call your racing wallet, which is actually your Matic wallet. And you also have your ETH balance wallet from MetaMask. Pretty easy. There's a simple way to withdraw money from your racing wallet. If you've sold a horse or won some races, you just click that little withdraw button underneath your wallet settings, and then enter how much you would like to withdraw. It does take anywhere from 3 to 10 hours sometimes, depending on how much traffic is going through. And it can also be a little bit expensive depending on network fees to withdraw that. So please keep that in mind as well. If you've only got 0.2, 0.3, maybe even up to 0.5 Ethereum that you're looking to withdraw, it might be better just to load up your MetaMask wallet from other funds, because you'll be hit with a $40 to $100 fee to withdraw that money. That's just a tip. Try and reduce withdrawing and depositing between wallets as much as possible. If you don't have that option and you need to get it out, it sort of is what it is. But yeah, pick your timing and get it done sort of as soon as possible.
Wait, I'm sorry. I just kind of came in for that. That was $4,200 fee for what transaction?
40 to 100. Sorry, mate. Like $40 up to $100. Didn't mean to give you a heart attack, man. Cool. I hope that sort of answered that in terms of where you need your balance. I've seen some new faces sort of popping up now that I'm scrolling down. So just again, this isn't much of a chat in any regard about Zed. It is an open Q&A, an opportunity for you to jump up and ask some questions. I'm here for at least another half an hour if we have the questions flowing. So please raise your hand if you would like to come up to the speakers. We have limited up here, so if you're not asking a question, it'd be awesome if you could just put yourself as a listener so we can bring some more people up.
Hey Doofy, since we were on the subject of MetaMask, I actually just asked Jay this question too in Discord. I have multiple Ethereum wallets and multiple cryptocurrency accounts. I was wondering if it was possible for me to deposit Ethereum specifically to zed.run, the site. You see that there's a wallet for Ethereum and then there's a wallet for wrapped Ethereum. Is there no problem with me depositing specifically from one exchange to zed.run?
From my understanding, the only way to deposit money into your Matic wallet or your racing wallet, your Zed wallet, all the same thing, is to transfer Ethereum into your MetaMask account that is linked to that Matic account, and then you have to then wrap it from that point. It's not as easy as just sending money to your Matic wallet, from my understanding. The only way that I've managed to do it from multiple wallets as well is to transfer it over, pay the $4 fee or whatever it is, and then wrap it.
Oh, wow. You're actually telling me something quite different from what Jay told me.
Hey, yeah, look, I'm just telling you the only way that I've done it before. They may have done something here. Matic is in beta as well in this layer 2. They may have had an update. I'm sort of 2 weeks out from doing this, so maybe something has changed.
Yeah, I'll just go ahead and be honest with you and everybody that's listening right here. This whole idea of using I would guess call it third-party wallets like MetaMask and Matic is kind of a new thing for me. I am very much an old school blockchain user. I'm like the QR code and I'm scanning it with a phone, or I'm putting the QR code in manually and I'm sending it straight from one exchange to another. Now, the only thing that is different here with zed.run is the fact that you guys have wrapped Ethereum. Now, I heard that conversion is actually used for a different function. Everybody, this is a very important piece of information. Wrapped Ethereum is apparently used for everything else that deals with money exchange on zed.run, except for the purchase of Zed horses. You need Ethereum to purchase Zed horses, like the drop that's happening literally tomorrow. You need Ethereum, not wrapped Ethereum, in order to purchase that. And so you need to do a conversion. Am I right so far?
Yeah, that to an extent that's correct. Yeah.
And everybody here, please correct me if I'm wrong.
No, that's right. Because breeding's turned off. I think once they have breeding back on, you'll be able to. And look, in the future, we'll be able to purchase racehorses with your wrapped Ethereum or your Matic wallet. Just be mindful that if you're using MetaMask, I just want to make this really clear. If you're using your MetaMask wallet and you have wrapped Ethereum in your MetaMask wallet, they are completely separate. You need Ethereum in your MetaMask wallet, and I don't want to sort of cloud that. The only way to purchase the racehorses tomorrow is to have Ethereum in your MetaMask wallet. Let's just sort of keep it as simple as that.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, cut it dry. Ethereum and the MetaMask wallet. I'll just take, because the whole idea for me to ask this question too was I was trying to get past the gas fees. You know, if I just do specifically from one exchange to Zed and not MetaMask or transferring Ethereum to my MetaMask wallet and then using MetaMask to purchase something on Zed would allow me to kind of avoid the gas fees. But
just suck up the gas fees, honestly. Yeah, look, there's been stories before. I've been caught out on the first drop. You're probably going to end up costing yourself more money in gas fees trying to get it back out again and doing the wrong thing. Simplest thing for you to do is just pay the gas fee for you to transfer money from whatever wallet you have into your MetaMask wallet. I think it's like $4 or $5 at maximum if you were to hit a trading like thing. But if you're transferring it from a offline wallet, like what you're talking about there, like a ledger or something, just transfer it straight into your MetaMask wallet as Ethereum and just leave it. Yeah.
Sweet.
Cool.
Thanks,
Too easy. We've got any other questions from any of the listeners or speakers at the moment? If you don't have any questions as a speaker, I'd really appreciate just jumping down as a listener so we can bring some more people up. Otherwise, we might just start kicking a couple of these speakers, Josh, as well, if they're not asking questions. If that's cool, mate.
Sure, I'll just bump anyone who's already asked.
Thanks, mate. And that should give it a good opportunity for people to put their hand up. So this is a good opportunity to put your hand up. If there's no questions, again, I'm not going to be here sort of talking. This is simply just for questions. We'll cut it early if there's no more questions. Cool. Hopefully we've answered everyone's questions then. That everyone's come with. We've had a good chat. I think we've touched on most of the questions that I'm getting from people in DMs, mostly about breeding and drops and what to buy. I will take this opportunity to say, if you haven't been to the website yet, I actually did do a 10-minute odd video on buying your first racehorse from the marketplace and what I think your strategy, what the best strategy is to do from a racing point of view. So jump over to doofyracing.com. Under the tips section, there's a video called Buying Your First Racehorse in the Marketplace. There's also a good video there as a beginner's guide, which talks about finding data, how to race your racehorses, etc., etc. But just a last chance for anyone to sort of raise their hand. Otherwise, we'll just cut this one early, guys.
Dude, I did have one question, which is when we think about like Z1 as being, like there's only 1,000 and you can't breed a Z1. Is it really, how special is it? In terms of is it worth people just really going after, saving up and saying, I want one of these 1,000 Genesis horses that can,
yeah.
breed it.
I have people coming to me just going, I want Z1s, I want Z1s. Look, I only have a handful. I think I have 4 Z1s out of a stable of 200. I have 30 or 27, I think, Z3s and Z4s. Now, this is just my opinion. You got to please take that into consideration. This is not financial advice in any way. I do believe that Z1s will start to reach a ceiling until we start bringing in people from outside the sort of Ethereum and NFT space, and we start looking at Zed as a industry from the horse racing as a competitor, and you start to see, and this is already happening. Don't mind, be mindful of that. I know that there's people that are close to me from the racehorse industry who are getting on board with this. But until you start seeing big money coming into the game, these Z1s will actually reach a ceiling, in my opinion, and there'll be more opportunities in these other super rare horses like Z2, 3, and 4 that will have more of a percent increase compared to what you purchase them. It is super glamorous to have a Z1, the number one horse in the game. I fully appreciate that, and they will continue to rise. How far for an unraced Z1, I don't know what that ceiling looks like, but if you're buying an NFT or a horse that you're not going to race, and I do believe that breeding horses, once they if they don't have any race data, is going to become extremely difficult to do as an owner, because there will be a lot of other options out there from actual raced horses. If you're purchasing this NFT that's a Z1 at like 200 grand and you're not racing it, how much more ceiling does it have? So that's my thoughts on it. Versus if you're going to Z4, which also only has 1,000 racehorses, it's just as rare. I think that the barrier to entry is a lot lower, and you'll be able to even sell that horse at half that price of 100,000, but currently they're about a quarter. So again, this is my opinion. I do believe that they will start to catch up to Z1s in terms of price, purely because of that barrier to entry and people who are just holding these NFTs. If they're not racing and then in turn not breeding, what's their value? What's the purpose of buying them in the future? So just a bit of a download from me.
Great, thank you. We had a couple other people request. I don't know if you're on your way out, but
no, I'm here for as long as you guys are asking questions.
If you have a question, feel free to. I see Iwan and David.
Yeah, sorry, I joined a little late, so hopefully this isn't a total repeat for anybody that's still left. But I'm kind of interested in just grabbing maybe a Z7 and one of the Z8 through 10s, and hopefully a colt and a filly, just so if I have a chance, I can breed them just to kind of play around with it and race them a little bit, just to play around with the space. Is there anything when I select those horses that should I just go down and randomly pick a horse that looks good in the terms of color and hope for the best?
Yep. I think at the moment,
do that as fast as I can to try and get one of those in each of those 2 drops, because I imagine that they'll get snapped up super fast. So I'm going to be for the best.
From what we learned from the last drop, I know we've got 4 times the amount of horses, but I think we've also got 4 times the amount of community members as well. So just keep that in mind. And what happened in the last drop was an absolute bloodbath, and I think they sold out within. There was technical errors, but they sold out in half an hour. And there was people, I think at one stage there was 500 people trying to buy the one horse. I heard this through the grapevine, right? So as I said earlier, it's a bit of a luxury that we used to have, that we could spend time sifting through colors and breeds and everything else when we pick a horse. I would be educating yourself between now and the drop tomorrow of what each of the colors look like, what the rare colors are, what they look like. This is something that I know. This is something that a lot of the stable owners who have been around for a while know that we can actually identify what these horses are and what they look like from just looking at them. So try and educate yourself as much as possible in what those rare colors are and those super rare, if any of them drop. I'll be picking names that either mean something to you or mean something to the general public. They're a little bit quirky, they're a little bit fun. There was a horse that was picked up as a Z1, I think a drop or two ago, called Dez. I mean, that is a great name, obviously, for a Z1 in terms of rarity. Naming definitely comes into horses when you're selling them, buying them, etc. So these are all factors that you have to sort of quickly take into consideration. But having said all of that, don't spend too much time sifting through it, and just make sure you get a horse, because I think at the moment we're in a landscape with these drops that they're going to be sold out almost instantly. And you don't want to be at the other end of this drop going, I didn't get a horse, I'm now off to P2P market paying 20, 30, up to 150% for an unraced markup.
Right, perfect. Thanks. Appreciate all the videos you put out. I've been watching those, trying to get myself educated. And looks like a super fun space. So hopefully I can grab something tomorrow.
Good luck, mate.
Being colorblind, I don't know that I have much of a chance of picking out a rare or super rare.
It does have the name on it, so that does help.
Yeah.
It has the color name on it as well. But I guess what I'm saying here is that instead of reading the words, I can sort of scroll through and then go, that looks like a rare or a super rare, and I know all of the names off by heart. I don't have to reference a chart or anything like that. I can sort of just go, yep, that's a rare, that's a super rare. Look, guys, I'm not buying the drop tomorrow, and I think there's a few stable owners, of the larger stable owners that I've been talking to as well, who are sitting on our hands. The last thing I've been spending the last 2-3 weeks actually sourcing horses for new stable owners as opposed to really buying. I have bought a couple myself, definitely, but I think for the community, most of the larger stable owners are out there trying to help you guys get your horses as opposed to grow ours. At this point in time, we're trying to grow it out, not hold on to more.
Awesome. Did you happen to record this Q&A like you recorded the Twitter space yesterday as well?
I've got this on record. Apologies for the quality of the audio and coming up and down in levels. I did a quick slice and try and just get the it's mostly just trying to get the content out for you guys while I'm away. I don't have much tech with me. I'm working off a Mac and an iPhone at the moment.
Great. Thanks a lot, and congratulations.
Thanks, Jim.
My mic off. Thanks.
I had a quick question. I recently got an unraced, unbred filly Z1, and I've kind of been reluctant to race it. I know you can't breed at the moment, but I guess how scared should I be to race and breed this thing?
Yeah. Okay. This is a really good point that I'll talk to a little bit. It's happening a lot, mate. It's happening to a lot of people. You know, the prices of these horses are, going up, and they are becoming investments versus a game, what they were originally set out to be. I got into this game when it was a hobby, and prices of horses, I think the most you'll pay for a Z1 from the marketplace was $2,000 USD, so a lot easier to sort of just whack that straight in a race. Look, any horse that I buy, I race, and I put my hand on heart, and you can have a look at all my stables on that. I don't care if it costs me 20 Ethereum, 30 Ethereum, whatever it is. I'm here to race. I love it. It's super fun. The breeding is epic. You breed these horses that can outrun other Genesis horses and will soon outrun the parents and all of these things. So I'm looking into the future, and I guess I'm a little bit more lucky in that I can look into the future because I know where it's. I have bred and I've had that experience. I'm not going to turn around and say definitely go and race that horse, because again, this is something that you need to be mindful of yourself. That horse probably will. It will increase in value with the way that the game's going at the moment if it's unraced. But you've also got to be mindful, right? Like if you turn around and race that horse and it turns out to be an average horse, we touched on this earlier, just because it's an average horse now doesn't mean it's an average horse in the future, or if it can't win a race now, it doesn't mean it can't win a race in the future, and other elements are added. And also needs to take into consideration that if you buy a Z1 at 20 grand USD today, that an unraced Z1 isn't worth 50 or 60 thousand USD in a couple of months. And even if you were to sell that at a discount of the marketplace price, even like 75%, you're making profit on that. So there's a lot of scarcity out there in terms of racing your horse and devaluing it and all of this stuff, which I'm not a massive fan of, because at the end of the day, this is a game. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be a community. And I think that's how it was originally set up. And look, there is an opportunity to make money. There's an opportunity to create brands. There's an opportunity to do really cool things on the side. Having said all of that, please look, at the end of the day, you are taking a gamble. I would only recommend purchasing what you can afford to lose if Zed fell over. Don't overcapitalize yourself. Don't put yourself into a position where you are too afraid to race your stable out of fear of losing it, etc., etc. Because there's just as much chance that you could lose your whole stable from Zed falling over in the future as that horse not being great. So look, have fun with it. I don't want to give anyone full advice on this. I'm just going to give you what I do. People have made a lot of money holding onto their horses, etc., etc. So that's an answer without answering your question, to be honest, mate.
Right. I guess, is it safe to say that it's, I guess, safer to not race it than it's kind of more of a gamble? It could get better, it could get worse if you do, kind of thing.
Yeah, look, it's definitely going to get better and it's definitely going to get worse if you race it. I don't think there's many horses out there. Look, there are some out there that would probably just pop up as average horses that, win 5 to 10% of their races that you'd probably sell for what marketplace price is, maybe a little bit more. Z1's a pretty average horse. Sorry, not average in terms of racing ability, but it's got a good chance of being an average horse. So I think that the risk is a little bit lower there in terms of getting a bad racehorse. But again, we've only scratched the surface in terms of what the racing abilities are in terms of these racehorses. So I've said this a few times. I do believe that if you have a limited budget and you are working with a set amount of money that you want to put into the game, I believe that you're better off spreading that risk over several horses, 5 as a minimum ideally. So then that way, each horse isn't such a risk to race and you can actually have a lot of fun doing that. And you can also pick up, you have a good chance or an okay chance of picking up a really good racehorse, even at those Z8s or 7s or 10 level, that you can, if you were to turn around and needed to get your money back out, you could sell that one racehorse for nearly as much as what the 5 were valued at. So that's my advice in terms of trying to have fun and also from an investment strategy.
And it sounded like your previous comments, it's also beneficial to the offspring if it is raced and does do well.
Yeah, look, there's an untapped potential there in terms of bred horses. I think bred horses will be the future of the game. I don't think that you will have much breeding going on. Look, you probably will in the very near future, but in the medium to long term future, I don't think people will be breeding with horses that are unraced. And again, just completely my opinion. I don't breed with horses that are unraced now, and I know that there's a lot of the sort of larger stables who don't do that as well, purely because it's a potluck, and especially if breeding prices are about to increase, which they are. We've got that as confirmed as yesterday. We don't know how much they're going to increase, but breeding prices are going to go up. So if you're going to be spending half an Ethereum, 1 Ethereum, whatever the price is to breed with a Z1, or even like 0.3, again, I don't know what the price is, I'm just giving examples. But if you're spending this much money to breed with an unraced Z1, that's quite a risk in itself, because if you don't know what you're breeding with, then that money is just as high a risk as racing your horse. And this is, again, just my opinion. I think what will start to happen is so many racehorses out there now that are actually racing, and they're the ones that will be getting picked up in terms of stud fees. I think that there'll be a lot of people putting them out there as minimum. So you're going to be competing with horses at minimum breed fee that have race records and have good race records as well. Does that answer your question, mate? I know I don't. I'm just being mindful about telling people what to do with their investments because I don't know the answers. I can only sort of give you what I do and give you all the information that you need to make for yourself. Hey, before we look to wrap up, if there's no more questions, I've been meaning to talk about this for a couple of chats now. In terms of breeding, and one thing that I have found in the past, this is sort of a hot tip, and I think that there's something to unlock here. I haven't done enough breeding into this, but I really like the idea of crossbreeding, and what I mean by that is crossbreeding genotypes. I think that a Nakamoto Genesis horse breeds very well with the Szabo Genesis horse. I have done it in the past, and it seems to just bring in a little bit of characteristics from each horse. I think that once we start getting into this breeding game, and if we look 6 months into the future and all of the bred horses that we'll have, I do believe that the horses that will really be performing on the track do start to have that sort of mixed breed bred into them. Maybe a horse with like 5 or 6 breeds down the line has maybe 1 or 2 Szabo breeds into it. Look, I have bred Nakamotos with Buterin horses before. They seem to be what I call a class 5 killer or a class 5 terrorist. So again, you've got to look back at what you want to get out of the game. Do you want to breed the best horse in the game, or do you want to breed a very profitable horse? If you turn around and breed a Z1 Nakamoto with a Z10 Buterin, you're going to end up with a Z11 Buterin legendary horse, which means that I think even if you win your Griffin race, you're starting in class 5. And if you're breeding these horses very well, that horse has every capability and every opportunity to make its way through the grades from class 5 all the way up until class 2, class 3, class 1, whatever it is. And you can pick up a lot of profit doing that. I've done it with a few of my horses already. I actually very much target doing this in terms of a profitable horse, but I also target just breeding the best of the best and keeping horses in that class 2, class 1 race to try and find the best racehorse. So just wanted to give you guys that tip as well for sticking around for this long on the chat. Cool. I think we might wrap it up. I think we've given everyone a good opportunity now to ask some questions. I really appreciate you helping us host this, Josh. It's been awesome to actually get Android users into these chats. The platform's really cool. I love it. The fact that you can like post messages in here and share messages with everyone. I'd love to figure out how I can host these as well. But I really appreciate you helping out, mate.
Yeah, it's coming. If I see the Twitter folks who have the product, I'll nominate you for the getting. They're rolling out.
Awesome, love it.
Yeah.
Thanks for all the questions, guys. Thanks for sticking around. I am still semi-dark on Discord. I'm not really looking at many DMs. So if you have messaged me and I haven't gotten back to you, I'm not ignoring you. I will be back at home in a few days, and we'll be kicking this back off full time, which is going to be epic. Doing some streaming, creating a heap of content, racing again with you guys. I had Poseidon reach out to me a couple of days ago saying, stay away from the racetrack, having too much fun. So, but I'll be back there soon, guys. Cool. All right, I'm just we'll end this chat. Really appreciate it. Have fun out there. See you guys soon.
Thanks. Good luck on the drop, everyone.
Absolutely.